Hey guys, Jerem here, and today I'm going to be telling you all about the new Looper Prix in Asphalt 9, telling you sort of how it's similar and how it's different to past Grand Prix, and some strategies that you might use to make the most of it. Please consider subscribing if you have not already, and be sure to check out my Furum Clips channel, as well as my Purple Team Discord. You can find a link to those in the description, and I hope you enjoy the video. This banner that pops up at the beginning the first time you play the Looper Prix gives you a basic rundown of how it works. You record your ghost during the first race, and then in subsequent races, your previous ghost will have slipstream behind it. So you can ride your previous recorded ghost slipstream to gain nitro to record a new ghost, and then when you play again, you'll be able to ride the slipstream of that ghost and get an even better time, and you can just keep doing this and doing this until pretty much you can hopefully stay in nitro for the entire race. I guess that's kind of the goal for this Looper Prix, and is probably how you might be able to get the best possible time. In this video are going to be the first 4 races I played in this Looper Prix, and you'll be able to see the progression each time, and I'll let you know some of the strategies that I learned how to use, and so on. These were recorded in the practice rounds for the first qualifier of the Looper Prix, so I can give you an authentic experience as to how you might start out and then improve your time over time. In this first race here, you can see I wasn't doing so well. This was my first time I had driven this car, and I hadn't really gotten accustomed to it yet. But that doesn't really matter a whole lot, because in the next race, I will be racing against this ghost right here that I'm recording right now, as is normally a Grand Prix, but I will have slipstream behind me. So one strategy that you can use is try to take the normal routes that you would go, so that when you take those routes later on in your next round, you'll be able to just go behind your ghost and stay in nitro pretty much the whole time. That was the first thing that I quickly learned this first time when I was playing it, and after a not so amazing round of 1:17.7, which I greatly improved later on, I had recorded my first ghost, and I was ready to try again to improve it. Now, in a normal Grand Prix, you would just practice a few times and hopefully get a better time racing against your previous ghost, which would start out in the same place as you. Now, one interesting thing about the Looper Prix is that your previous ghost actually starts out slightly ahead of you in the beginning, so that you can actually catch their slipstream at the beginning rather than being exactly in the same place. So as you can see there, my previous ghost obviously could not have nitro at the beginning, but I was able to slipstream on my previous ghost, get up to full nitro, and then shockwave off the first ramp. And after this, I am now ahead of my previous ghost, as you can see, and I now just need to try to take good racing lines again to record a good ghost for my next round. Now, there's a couple other things I want to point out, one of which was one that somebody mentioned in my comments, I believe, where they said, what if you get so far ahead that you're not actually able to catch your slipstream of your previous ghost? Because you know the slipstream only goes out so far behind the car. What if you do a round so fast that you can't really catch up to it again? Well, I don't really think that would happen, since at the very beginning you can just shockwave to catch up to them after being in their slipstream for a little while. So I don't really think that would happen unless maybe you had a super high acceleration car. Even then, I don't really think that should be much of an issue. Another thing that I found throughout playing these races is that, well, when you are drifting, or if you're doing the brake nitro trick or anything like that, you don't have the slipstream out behind you. So it is to your advantage when recording a ghost, as long as it's not the lap that you want to use, like for your time, to, well, not drift as much, to not like flat spin and do stuff like that as much, so the ghost that you record after that can use more slipstream of your previous ghost, if that makes sense, so that your next recording will be able to stay in nitro for as long of a time as possible. As you can see in that previous race, I improved my time from 17.7 to 15 something, so by about 2 seconds, due to, number one, being able to shockwave at the beginning due to my first ghost slipstream, and also by just driving better in general. And now we're on to our third race, where as you can see now, my previous ghost, since he got the shockwave at the beginning too, is now ahead of me, but the good thing about this is I can then ride his slipstream for the entire time, and some of the cases where my second recording did not have any nitro because he was ahead of my first ghost, I will now have nitro in this third time to be able to catch up and hopefully at some point get ahead. If this is all very confusing to you, don't worry too much about it. You pretty much need to focus just on recording a ghost with as much slipstream as possible so that your next recording can make use of it as much as possible and stay in nitro as long as possible. I mentioned this in my video about the update, but I wonder if Gameloft at least partially took inspiration for the name of the Looper Prix from the movie Looper from 2012, where Bruce Willis goes back in time to fight a younger version of himself, and it was just a really fun and well-made time travel sci-fi movie, which are some of my favorite movies, incidentally. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're old enough to watch it and haven't seen it yet. But back to our races, this time we improved by about a second, going from 15.5 to 14.4. What I found, and what you will probably notice as well, is that the more you play it, the smaller the time difference will be, and sometimes you might not even be able to beat your previous round if you're able to stay in nitro long enough eventually. And I do wonder how this will come into play in the actual rounds, because if they give everybody an infinite amount of tries just without paying in order to better their time, this would be totally fine. But because they haven't really talked too much about this yet, at least from what I can remember, if they still only allow people to have 3 unpaid times to play, and then you have to pay tokens to record your time for a 4th and 5th time, this could be a problem. Because then people who are able to pay for a 4th and 5th, maybe even a 6th time, will inherently be able to get better times than people who can only play the first 3 and not spend more tokens. So I'm really hoping that they allow people to have an infinite number, or at least raise it up to at least 5. 3 is too small, because in this 4th run here, even though you can see that I am behind my previous ghost right now, I am beginning to catch up, and spoilers, I do end up beating my previous ghost again, and I mean, this wasn't a perfect lap by any means. I could try again and definitely get an even better time. So that is my only real concern for this kind of event. We'll find out soon enough whether or not those fears will come to fruition at all. Sure hope not, because this is a really cool premise, and I hope we see more like this in the future, and I'm really curious to see what other strategies you guys come up with. And I end this 4th race with a final time of 14.0. Now, it might look like I crossed the finish line behind my previous ghost, but you have to remember, they start your previous ghost ahead of you on the track so that you can actually get their slipstream to begin with. So even if it looks like you're getting a worse time, you may actually be getting a better time. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt, Forza, Minecraft, and other games content. And I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye!